From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 topics of the week that make us go wow.
Wow.
I am Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined by my amazing co-hosts, Tom Campbell.
Phew. Hello, hello.
And of course, James St. James.
Woo!
And we have Blake here as usual with questions. Hello.
Hello.
Let's start at number 10, Tom.
Number 10.
I saw the movie that everyone's talking about. James and I forced James not to talk about it with me yesterday when we ran into each other. Benton, have you seen The Substance?
I have not seen The Substance.
Fenton, of all of us, you.
I know of all of us here.
Why?
Fenton
Why me? Why
because
you love the video drone.
I know. It was described as Cronenberg meets Barbie, is what it has been described as. Tom, go, and then I have a number of things to say.
Me, for it's help me find the French director's name. It's a woman. It's written, produced, and directed by a French woman who, it's such a singular point of view. They chip away from the very beginning. To me, it's a little Showgirls as well.
Oh,
there, I said it.
Interesting. Okay.
And they go to great extremes very early on to let you know this is a surreal reality. It's like a graphic novel. It's like a comic book. It's like the way every shot is a piece of art. Every angle,
every single shot is a cinematic joy to behold. It is interesting that it is in its own dimension, in its own parallel universe, because the cars are all 1970s. If you notice, the idea that she's a jazzercise instructor is very 80s. The colors and costumes and outfits are all 80s, but there's a 90s sort of feel about it.
Her apartment's very 90s. Yes. So I don't want to give too much away, but the premise is that, and they cast Demi Moore, who is the best, most well-preserved, most beautiful 61-year-old God ever put on earth. And yet she plays a woman who is fired and deathly afraid of growing old. She's getting a little too old and saggy, and you see so much nudity in this movie. Sometimes in the male gaze when they're making a point about it, and oftentimes when Demi's alone in her bathroom, you just see her. It's just really spectacular. And she gets like a tip from a stranger that she'd be a good candidate for The Substance, and like I don't know, through weird phone calls. There's by the way, there's landlines and cell phones. I don't know what year it is either.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, the cell phone thing is very strange. Yes,
but she gets this voice, and it says, "The substance will make you a better version, a better younger version of you. You are the Matrix. It all comes from you. Although there'll be two, there'll be one." Now, here's the other thing: the whole movie starts with an egg yolk.
Brilliant.
And then they take a thing. You think they're going to suck it out of the egg? They put the substance, which is lime green, which is brat green, into the egg yolk, and then the yolk goes blah, 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 and becomes two. And that is the message.
That's all the explanation you're going to get of the science for the movie is that the egg yolk,
the science,
but it's still the same egg. So it's these two people made out of one, but they're still the same one person. Margaret Qualley.
She gets
Demi
the
Moore.
kit. She gets the kit like a from the thing, and she injects this stuff. Nothing happens. She's bummed, and then she throws herself. What?
Here's the thing about the injection is that if you are afraid of needles, do not see this movie.
100%. That would be my closer. It's like if you have a needle eviction, do not. My brother can't stand needles. He would have passed out several times.
My sister passed out about 3 or 4 times.
But anyway, she shoots herself up. There's lots of needles, and nothing happens. She's bored, and all of a sudden, she slams to this white bathroom with everything's very
fabulous bathroom.
Yes, and all of a sudden we go to her eyes, and we see the pupils of her eyes go into like 2, and then out of her back. You've seen the poster where the naked lady is on the floor, and you see her stitched back. Out of her back, which makes no sense scientifically. Out of her back comes Margaret
Qualley.
Andy McDowell's daughter.
Who is
very talented in her own right. Stunning, perfect, and her nipples and her hair. And you've just seen Demi Moore naked. And you see Demi Moore
at her butt.
Yes, then you see her butt, and you're like, oh my God, youth. And the idea is that, and I'll stop here, is that you get to be the young person for 7 days, and then you have to switch over through needles and cords and blood transfusion to bring back the old one.
For so you get 7 days on, 7 days off, 7 days on,
So
7 days off.
you're passed out in a room, and things go very wrong when one of the parties wants to stay online a little longer, and there seems to be consequences for the other.
Now,
If that were enough, but talk about the movie ends and then it goes on for another 30 minutes.
But you need to know that the last 30 minutes
are
bonkers, and then the last 10 minutes are unlike anything that has ever been committed to film before in the history of film. And the audience is screaming and jumping up and shouting and
laughing.
And it will never make me think of, like, you know how Alex puts the sparkles on RuPaul's star on the Walk of Fame? I'll never think of that the same way.
It starts off and there's a star of Demi Moore. But anyway, I've heard it described. I describe it as the Black Swan meets Death Becomes Her, because it's all about women, fighting aging, everything. Meets Cronenberg Scanners, meets Existenz, remember, with Jude Law, meets Toxic Avenger, meets Gattaca, meets Carrie. It's everything all at once.
The amount of blood is what gives you the
amount of blood at the end.
Meets Baz Luhrmann, meets Requiem for a Dream.
But the Barbie done by Cronenberg is basically what you need to know. And Demi Moore, this is, you know how Betty Davis had like a 40-year career and then she did Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, and that's what she's known for, essentially, to people today. This is Demi Moore's Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. The clips when she dies, it's going to be on her tombstone. This is Demi Moore's greatest role and craziest role. I also think there's this thing about Dennis Quaid, who plays this sleazy
boss, the bad guy, the producer.
Oh God, just sleazy, disgusting, like with food coming out of his mouth, and
like a cartoon character.
But it works so well because we know that Dennis Quaid is so horrible in real life. That it's because he's a MAGA. He's always on Fox now. He's a big Trump supporter, and so for him to be this horrible, sexist, horrible man, it works so beautifully that you just loathe him on sight. Do you think, Tom, Blake, that Demi will get nominated for an Oscar? Do you think that it's going to get nominated for makeup, for cinematography? What do you think?
All of the above. I say yes.
You do think that Demi can get nominated for
I hope so. So many pretentious things get nominated that this is not pretentious. It's ostentatious. And it's wonderful. The director's name, and I'm probably mispronouncing it, is Qualley Fargeat. Fargeat.
Okay.
And she's kind of brilliant. I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's true, that Universal was originally the backer of this movie, and they said you have to cut 30 minutes out of this movie. And she refused, so they distanced themselves, and it was released through another entity. But I feel like it really does end. Like it ends in the bathroom when it goes too far, and then the next 30 minutes are just like, oh my God! Oh
yes,
my God! Oh my God!
That's the Toxic Avenger moment. But it's interesting. I've seen things that say, how Black Swan is essentially sort of the same story, but they're pretending to be high art with ballet, and this is not pretending to be high art. This is jazzercise. She's not a star because of her talent. She's a star because she
won an Oscar and she does a jazzercise class on television.
Yes.
That's
it's sort of like it bookends Black Swan.
But when I had to release my own suspension of disbelief, and it was when I said, "Oh, this is a graphic novel on film."
It is interesting because it is so not. When you said that you went to it, I kept thinking this isn't a Tom Campbell movie. But I'm so glad that you were able to appreciate and love it, because it's Fenton. You need to go see it, and we can talk about it again. We can.
I do need to see it. You're right. Do you remember? And funny enough, hearing you talk about it reminds me of a movie from '89, early '90s called Society, where it was a sort of Hollywood elite, and they were having sort of body melding orgies, and they would suck the nutrients out of people. It was
I saw this with a babysitter one time when I was very young. Yeah,
that explains a lot.
Sort of similarly in that sort of B movie sounds all judgy, but
isn't there a man with the butt face in that?
Yes.
Yes.
They have these things called shunts, which are just like orgies and it turns out, of course, that they're not quite from this planet. But they sort of have these massive orgies and it sort of renew their youth by sucking all the life out of humans. So
that's interesting because another thing to describe this movie is it's very Liquid Sky. The color palette, the music, all that stuff is very Liquid Sky.
I can't wait to see it. The Substance, currently in movie theaters, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you need to see it in a movie theater, definitely.
Okay. All right. Number 9, James.
Number 9.
I watched the first premiere episode of The Penguin on HBO Max this past week, and it's really spectacular. It is set in Robert Pattinson's Batman universe, but you don't need to know anything about Batman. You don't need to know anything about the Penguin. This has nothing to do with any of that. This is a different Penguin than you've ever seen. It's Colin Farrell in one of his greatest roles ever. He disappears into this fat suit where he plays Penguin Oswald Cobblepot. And Oswald is a low-level mafia person in Gotham City. He's got a drops operation. The eye drop, it's a big drug that all the kids are using. And so he's sort of in charge of that, but he's basically a joke among the higher ups in the mafia. And because he's like fat, he's ugly, he's got scars on his face, he's got a club foot, and everyone just sort of makes fun of him. But he has this sort of genius aptitude for getting out of trouble. He's a smart cookie is what he is. And in the very beginning, the head of the mafia, the Mario Falcone or something like that, is murdered by Oswald. And then his son is about to take over the organization, his 20-year-old son. And Oswald and the son have this the first 5 minutes of the show are them sort of going at each other. And it's genius right off the bat. And spoiler alert, Oswald kills him. So that sort of sets up that Oswald has this body that he's got to dispose of, and he's taking the body to his car, and there's a group of kids, a gang of kids that are trying to steal his hubcaps, and he starts shooting at them, and he takes one of the kids, and he's gonna kill him, but then he has the key. He sort of takes the kid under his wing. Okay. And the kid has a little speech impediment. He's got like a stutter. So Oswald sort of feels like a kindred spirit towards him. And he sort of takes the kid and shows him the ropes of how to be, like a penguin type person. And their friendship is very sweet. And he's still a villain. He's a horrible, horrible person. And he's got all these problems, but the heart of the story is this relationship between Oswald and the young kid that he's sort of mentoring, this young kid from the bad part of town. And it's not like any superhero show you've ever seen. It's not like The Flash or Arrow or anything like that, Superman. It's like The Sopranos. It is HBO telling a gritty story about the mob using this character that you sort of know already a little bit about. But Colin Farrell, once again, like I said, he disappears into this fat suit in a way that there are times when you're thinking like, that's not Colin Farrell. How could that be Colin Farrell? Because he's so good. And I hope to see an Emmy in his future. And it's just, yes.
Did you only saw the first episode?
Well, Stephen more.
No, I haven't seen it, but he saw all of it, and I told him you were talking about this today, and he said that he really loved the show, and that it was a star-making role for Kristen Milioti, who plays Sophia Falcone.
Oh, well, yeah, because he kills the boy. He kills the guy who's going to take over the Falcone, and his sister is a serial killer named Sophia, and she's onto him, and she's figured out that he killed her brother, and so that he keeps trying to escape Sophia, and they keep having these little confrontations that are so good. So anyway, yes, the Sophia character is amazing. Oh, let's move on. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's move on. Number 8.
Number 8.
Monsters. Is it Monsters or Monster? How's that for a beginning? I don't even know the title.
I think it's Monsters because there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Ryan Murphy's sequel to his Jeffrey Dahmer serial.
Which was called Monster, singular. This one's Monsters. So we'll have to put a Z on the next one. Go ahead.
Subtle shift.
Yeah.
I can tell you that season 3 is coming and will be about Ed Gein, the serial killer. So it's just charming. I, James, have not watched it. I told you I would, but I cannot face 9 hours about this. So I wanted to but you did watch 9 hours.
No, I didn't watch 9 hours. No,
I did not watch 9 hours.
I've watched 6.
All right, finally, someone who's seen the show we're talking about.
But I know. Listen, I don't have to watch it to have vehement opinions. About it.
That's what this show is all about.
I am outraged. Of course, there's a little bit of personal, what you were, whatever, personal. Because Randy and I made a movie, Menendez Blood Brothers, with Courtney Love playing Kitty, playing the Menendez matriarch. Yeah. Anyway, the story is of the Menendez brothers who at the end of the 80s killed their parents in cold blood, claimed that it had been a home invasion or something, went on a shopping spree, were ultimately arrested. Not one, but 2 trials. They hung jury the first trial. Second trial, they were found guilty. Of course, the second trial was conducted under very different circumstances, same judge, but the judge excluded most of the so-called abuse excuse because the centerpiece of their defense was that Jose Menendez, their father, had raped first Lyle Menendez, the oldest son, and then secondly, been serially abusing Eric Menendez, the younger one. Now, this does sound perfect Ryan Murphy material. It's homoerotic. You've got the brothers. They're gorgeous. But when I read that, this one of the new spins of this version, this 9-hour version, is to portray the brothers as in an incestuous relationship. I honestly, my stomach kind of turned because
and that is the problem, right there.
I don't believe that for a second. Yes, Lyle did admit on the stand that he had abused his brother once, and that he said he had done it because his father had abused him, and it was a sort of an act of replication.
Yes.
But actually, there's so much to say about this, but at the time they were just not believed what they were saying. It was called the abuse excuse. They were ridiculed. They were portrayed as sociopathic monsters. But I think in the fullness of time, we've come to see that probably they were abused. And I have no proof, but I just, based off my gut, felt that it was very clear. It was just in those days, the idea of a father raping his sons it just didn't happen, right? I mean,
you couldn't fathom it. I was watching a little Rosie O'Donnell Instagram live, and she's really fascinating. No, because she was talking about this, and she said, I saw it, I finished it, I don't like it. It's not very nice. I don't like it. And then she reveals that she knows the Menendez brothers, that she speaks to them.
Yeah, I remember.
And in this past week, I've read that Kim Kardashian paid a visit with the mother, and they're incredibly, and what Rosie said, and this is just one source, but she goes, look at their behavior since they've been in prison. Look at what they've fought for. Look at what they've advocated for. She goes, I hate to think that this, the portrayal in this takes back the work and just the idea of believing the victims of, family abuse and incest and all that.
And needless to say, the Menendez brothers themselves have denounced this series and this treatment of things. But James, and Blake,
well, here's the thing. First of all, the casting is interesting with Chloe Sevigny in the Courtney Love role. That is fascinating.
Really good. I bet
I love it in the Courtney Love role. That's my favorite.
Well, to compare and contrast the two performances is interesting. Nico
Tortorelli and Maiko.
We're absolutely fantastic and gorgeous. This does have 2 up-and-coming young actors who we're going to hear a lot more of. The one is Nicholas Alexander Chavez, who was on General Hospital for many, many years and was Emmy winner and beloved by the soap opera people. And when Ryan sort of snatched him away from General Hospital, there was a great hue and cry about it. And he was supposed to come back after 6 months, but then Ryan booked him in Grotesquerie, and he has this huge career ahead of him. He's really good. And the other is the Cooper Koch, I believe is his name, and he is all over Interview, and he's at all the fashion shows right now, and everyone's sort of going bananas over him. The episode 4, Blake, is the murder. No, is the murder, and it's done in one tracking shot for an hour and a half that does not break, and it's a close up of his face.
Have you seen it?
I've seen enough of episode 4 to know about that people are saying that,
because I think you're going to get confused with episode 5, which is where he is in. It's all one shot where they're pulling out or.
Maybe I am wrong. I thought it was episode 4.
It's episode 5, and it's Eric Menendez talking to Leslie Abrams, and it's all done in one shot. The whole episode. It was really
yeah. But the other thing is about the incestuous thing. There is a GIF that's going around on social media of the boys kissing, and it's people are just furious about it and saying that it's
I think was interesting is I saw Ryan Murphy being interviewed, because he usually would stay quiet about this stuff, but he's defending the show. He's saying that it's Rashomon, that all of these things are theories, and they put them all out there for us to decide. So there you have it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I call bullshit on that, because I just don't believe. I never believe that. I think that ultimately it feels like a play to put every kind of possible homoerotic kind of spin into something, and the endless sexualization of killers and violence. And and this feels like not a leitmotif. It feels like the very DNA of his work. Yeah. And personally, as someone, quite apart from the professional thing, just someone who doesn't like that, I don't know how it is that I'm actually going to watch it.
Yeah. I do think that maybe watching a little bit of it for the performances and to get a feel for these actors, and because they're both going to be around for a while. I think they're both really talented kids, and just to see how what Chloe's take on the role is sort of interesting as well.
I mean, I think the best possible outcome could be that they get a new trial, but I can't see how this series get them that. Yeah. And I think that's the ultimate tragedy. And I guess it's good, though, that as a story, it lives on, that they haven't been forgotten about. And Rosie interviewed them in prison and did a great podcast. And there's a lot of TikTok videos, and you can watch the actual trials on the first trial, on YouTube. And it's pretty shocking. And
the TikTok detectives out there who are trying to do, they're really doing good work, and they are bringing a lot of attention to to it, for the younger group.
We'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. Fenton here with James and Tom and Blake. We are counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. We've reached number 7.
Number 7.
This is going to be on Netflix, I believe, but I went to the theater to see it because I'm trying to go out more and see things and do things. And I saw Will and Harper, the documentary, Will Ferrell road tripping with his trans friend, his friend who's trans, Harper Steele. Harper Steele used to be the head writer at Saturday Night Live. Appeared to be, by old photos that were allowed to be in the thing, a man's man, was married, had kids. Harper and Will started the same week or something at Saturday Night Live. And I guess, they're very bonded. And, I guess when Will first started, no one really got him there. And Harper did. And together they've done great, amazing things. And a few years ago, out of the blue, Will gets an email from Harper that we find out she sent to, a bunch of people close to her, including her kids, explaining her transition. And she lives in upstate New York. She is, I don't know how I want to be played, but they talk about this in the movie. What's so great is that Harper used to, before Harper transitioned, Harper used to love to just get in her car and drive across the country and go to dive bars and just the most bizarre. Just loved America and loved the feeling of getting to know everyone. And she goes, I don't know if I can do that anymore. She goes, I love this country. I don't know if this country loves me. No. I'm getting because I left. It was this whole thing is so warm, and it's not a piece of propaganda, and it's not a sad sack story. And they also recognize, so Will and Ferrell decided to go across the country from northern New York to Los Angeles, and they cover it. And Harper experiences different experiences, goes to dive bars, does different things. And they say from the very get-go, so there can't be any criticism about this. This is like, she goes, there's nothing more powerful and protective than traveling the country as a trans woman when you're with Will Ferrell. You know what I mean? Like that sort of, there's a force field, there's an energy. But Will Ferrell, the whole aesthetic of this thing is beautiful, but they drive like an old Jeep Wagoneer. You know, they bring 2 lawn chairs that they pull out and have beers whenever they go someplace. So one place was like the Walmart parking lot where they bought Pringles and were drinking like, you know, cheap beer. And it's like they go to the Grand Canyon. It's just so deeply American, this whole thing. And it's so beautiful. And it's such a great contrast. And Will says, and Harper says, ask me anything. You know, don't worry about, you know, because they were talking about the awkwardness that you feel like I'm going to say something, I'm going to hurt your feelings. And they really have honest conversations while driving. They're at the end of the movie, there's all these outtakes. So the movie's, I don't know, 2 hours long, but, you know, they clearly documented the entire thing and then put together this movie, but they really spent the real time together. And there's one scene, and again, these are all through rose-colored glasses because of it. There's a documentary crew there. There's Will Ferrell there, you know, to protect. But they Harper wants to go to this dive bar, I think in Oklahoma, and so Will waits outside. He goes, "Call me if you need me," you know. And it's a little like shack in the middle of nowhere, you know. And Harper goes in, and people look at her or whatever, and she ends up, you know, Harper's pretty adept at speaking and stuff, and then Harper kind of got people around her, and they were like, "Hey, dude," and she goes, "It's ma'am," and she ended up having such a good time. She calls for Will just to join them, and there was this moment where you have to believe that one-on-one, in a sane sense of mind, we're all just people. Just let everybody be, you know, which I know is like an obvious duh thing, but like it's such a warm feeling to see. And the real takeaway, this is a buddy movie like no other. The 2 of them bond. Will Ferrell gets caught up, and there's one time they go to this restaurant where it's a joke, and like if you can eat like the 17-pound steak in an hour, your dinner is free. And so they decide to do that. And Will decided to wear his Sherlock Holmes outfit. He was trying to take away attention from Harper or whatever in the middle of like the stick. And it ends up that everyone's looking at them and everyone's videotaping, and it's an incredibly uncomfortable event. Nothing happens, but the crowd it's mob rule, and it starts to go south, and you just feel it's dangerous. And after that, Will's driving the next day. He's like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, "I'm so sorry. I put you," you know, like it was, you know, he didn't put her up to anything, but it was this sensing the danger, you know, and really, really palpably sensing the danger that a trans woman faces in this society. So I go on, but I really, really recommend that. Blue, red, Trumper, you know, everyone loves Will Ferrell.
Everyone loves Will Ferrell. So
it's like he's the perfect lightning rod for this social experiment.
It does sound really unusual. I'm going to check it out. So that's coming to Netflix, right?
I believe so, yes.
Well, you know, I remember 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I remember pitching to Randy and Fenton my infamous Faggot in Uganda series, in which they were going to drop me in the middle of Uganda in drag, and just I had decided that everyone loved, you know what, I would make friends wherever I go, but you said that was probably not very wise
going to happen. I think you should really be very grateful that you are here today, because we refuse to entertain the idea.
I think it's a great idea, James, and you should go tomorrow.
But it is true that when you say that everything has the potential to go south at a moment's notice, but it's ultimately a wonderful story. I can't wait to see it.
And James, if it did, you wouldn't be with Will Ferrell. You would be in Uganda. You wouldn't be like within reach of a valet car or like an escape vehicle. I'd be like,
but people are wonderful no matter what, wherever you go.
We'll let you go with The Rock. We'll let you go with The Rock.
Number 6, James.
Number 6.
Have I got news for you, which is not something I'm saying to you right now, but it's a new series on CNN. It's a comedy series on CNN, which has the potential to just be awful. You think comedy on CNN, what it can go so wrong. Fox has that Gutfield or Gutman or something show that's just embarrassing, and I thought that this might be the same thing. And the idea that CNN and Fox and probably MSNBC have to do comedy shows to show lawyers and judges and juries that they are not a news network, that they are an entertainment network. This just feels very like a cynical ploy that if they ever get in trouble, they can point to a show like this and say, see, we're an entertainment network. But I have to say that it is smart. It is funny. It is hysterical. It's based on a British show that is a runaway success in UK, and it stars. Let me see.
It's in the UK, James. It's a panel game show.
Well, that's what this is. This is
been on the air forever.
Yeah,
like,
this is
over
the same
30
thing.
years.
It's a game show. It's a game show with some news elements in it, and it is Roy Wood Jr. is the host. Michael Ian Black is one of the comedians, and Amber Ruffin is another team captain. And it's two teams, and they're given, it's like a game show format, but it's today's hot topics and today's what's happening in the news right now, and they have to sort of do it, and it works, and it is hysterical, and I think everyone should watch it. It's on Saturday nights at 9:00. It's a little bit of a game show meets SNL's weekend update.
Do you remember that what was the VH1 show that Michael Ian Black was on? There was like a sort of news type review. That was the week.
Best week ever.
Best week ever.
I loved that show.
And this has elements of that, and he's absolutely wonderful. He's adorable, and Amber Ruffin is really good too. And they're all the people that they bring on. It's a funny show, and I recommend maybe you give it a shot.
Okay. My God, there's so much stuff this week, isn't it? It's crazy. Yeah. Number 5. Diddy or didn't he? I am sorry, but I am compelled and appalled and horrified by the Diddy story. It's like, and essentially he's been a 3-count indictment, but essentially one that portrays a devastating criminal web of serial sexual abuse and drugs. And it seems, because I must say I have been looking on X, it seems that, murder, the murder of Biggie Smalls, right? And Tupac.
Yeah.
And of course, this book, which I ordered from Amazon, it's called Kim's Lost Words, and it's supposedly the biography of Kimberly Porter, Puffy's former wife, who died of pneumonia under circumstances. It was ruled a natural death, but according to this very thin book, which is kind of unputdownable, a lot of people around Diddy died of pneumonia because that was one of the things he did, in addition to orchestrating shootings of people. I mean, and the family, the kids, because he has, I think, 1, 2, 3 kids by Kimberly, right? And one, she had a previous kid by another daddy. I've just put out denouncing this book, saying that actually Jamal T. Millward does not exist. And indeed he doesn't. Apparently this is a nom de plume that has some kind of connection to Tupac after he was shot. This is supposedly the name he used because he's supposed to have survived or something. I mean, yes, Diddy or didn't he? It's a complete web of conspiracies. And but something seems... And James, I turn to you for all conspiracy advice. What do you think?
Well, we were talking about this the other day, where there are a number of people like Harvey Weinstein, like a certain director that we've all, a gay director that we know, where we know everybody in town knows what's going on, but for whatever reason, it never gets brought to the police. It never bubbles up into anything until the very end. And it could be, 10, 15 years.
Well, they know, but they don't know the extent, or they can't fathom the extent, right? It's like Harvey Weinstein, people knew he was creepy. I mean, but
no, I knew he was. I heard rumors about Harvey.
Rumors, yes, but you don't know that. You can't believe that it's as bad as it is with Diddy. You feel like pity. I pity the fool. I Diddy the fool. it's because so many people were witness to it. He was magnanimous in many ways, and people are complicated. I mean, are people monsters? That's the idea of monsters. It's like people are monstrous, but are they monsters? Because there's good parts and bad parts. I'm not forgiving him.
And I'm not saying I'm right, but my gut feeling has always been the Menendez brothers were innocent, essentially, or victims of horrible abuse. I always felt that. I always loathed Harvey Weinstein. I always thought everything he made and touched and everything you heard about him was just repugnant, just had a really visceral, and where I'm going with this is P. Diddy just loathed him, made my skin crawl, not based off knowing him, Tom. So it's not a fantasy, it's a gut thing. I mean, we did once interview him for the history of the music video, and he was such a spectacular asshole. Like, I thought, I never liked you. I always thought you were super creepy, talentless, ugly. I never understood
but
it.
Tom's point, though, is that he was so powerful and so influential, and he gave those parties and those lavish parties, and he spent in a way that was, that people get sucked into that. And if you're at the white party with Beyonce and Mariah and Jay-Z and everybody, and you're hanging with him in the special VIP room, that you feel like you get sucked into it, and you were willing to give him a pass on things that other people don't. And the same with Harvey Weinstein, when you have him dishing out Oscar campaigns to people, you have everybody giving Harvey a pass.
And once again, I'm at that Rosie O'Donnell Instagram Live. She said, I used to live next to P. Diddy in Miami. And he invited us to his white party. So all these kids and I show up the next day, but we're in sweats and we get turned away. She goes, and he felt so bad about it that he like rented out a theme park for them or something. So it's just all this grand posturing. I'm not defending with that, but it's like, that's how he felt.
To take away from the ickiness.
I mean, this is the interesting thing. Remember that book, Michael Jackson Was My Lover?
Yes.
That was sort of self-published. I mean, this has a self-published feel. I would not even call it a book. It's more like a pamphlet. But reading it does feel real. When there's sort of, it's not particularly well written. It just has this weird level of...
Well, it's but it's like Michael Jackson's My Lover, the Geordie Chandler book. I mean, it's that same feeling where you walk away thinking, that feels real. I'm sorry.
I guess we're not going to resolve it all today, and it's a story I think that's just going to keep going. Going. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue counting down the top 10 things of the week that make us go wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back. Fenton here with James and Tom and Blake. We're counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow, and we've reached number 4.
Number 4.
I just want to say Ellen DeGeneres has a new special on Netflix, her last special, called For Your Approval. First time she's done anything sort of professionally since she left Ellen. I want to go on record as saying I greatly admire Ellen. For her break coming out of the closet the way she did. She's having a talk show that I'm sorry, for a decade or more, anytime anyone from New Hampshire came to visit me here, they're like, get me tickets to Ellen. Such a popular show, brought such good vibes. But of course, there was, she was supposed to be a very bad boss, toxic workplace at the end. And surprise, surprise, real Ellen doesn't match screen Ellen. So she has this documentary this stand-up comedy special. And I gotta say, I'm not gonna. The reviews are both ways, that it's kind of brilliant, that it's just really pandering and tiptoes over stuff. And some say the worst thing of all, that it's not that funny. And I'm not here to, slam her into the wall, but it was okay. And she doesn't take it on. It just feels like if someone's going to, I don't know, it seems positioned to really blow your wig off, so to speak, and it does not. And it seems a little bit more like, she talks about how she's a strong woman. She brings up, feminist things about sexism in the workplace and how female bosses versus male bosses. And some of it's true, but there never seems to be a huge amount of accountability or personal revelation, other than I'm okay with who I am, which is fine. Let her be that way. Anyway.
Well, not only is there not a bunch of self reflection involved, it sort of seems to go the opposite direction, where she starts off by saying, you know, I've been canceled, and you're on the biggest platform on the planet, Netflix. You've got your own special, and you have not clearly been canceled if you still can reach 1 million, 10 million.
Right.
People.
Well, cancel is a funny word, because it sort of means being out of
favor,
the mainstream. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Favor.
But also the sad thing is, when you say that it's not that funny, and it's true, but she got her start winning the funniest person in the world contest. Remember, wasn't that how she got her first thing onto the Tonight Show? She was labeled, she won a contest called the funniest person on the planet, and she went on the Tonight Show as the funniest person, and she blew everybody away with how funny she was. And for her to end her career not being funny is very
her
weird.
humor is observational and about the minuscule, and it's hard. It's those are two topics that she tries to blend in and out, and does successfully at times in the special, but they're two different. They're very, sexism in the workplace, toxicity, and then windshield wipers on cars are really annoying me. That's the up and down of the special.
How about that airplane food?
So that's on Netflix, right?
Yep.
Okay. Number 3, James.
Number 3.
Janet. Why? We need to talk about Janet, and I will be kind. I will be a little bit kind for Tom's sake. Okay. I do have to just sort of explain very quickly what happened for those of you who don't know, who are living under a rock, where she was giving an interview with either The Guardian or Rolling Stone. I don't know which, but she said that she had heard that Kamala's father was white and that she's not really black, and she started spouting all these MAGA talking points, and it come to find out that her manager is her brother Randy, and Randy is a huge Trumper, a huge RFK fan, huge conspiracy theory fan. So that's where she's sort of getting her talking points from. And the thing about Janet is that she has been rich her whole life. She's been famous her whole life. She's been sheltered her whole life. She never probably had that much of an education outside of some homeschooling. So you can extend some grace to her. You can sort of say that maybe she's a little out of touch. She's been not living in America for a long time, and she's being influenced by her brother. So I will give her that.
Where has she been living?
She lives in she had a husband from
the Mideast, and then she lived in London, and et cetera, et cetera.
So, but the thing is that not only did she as right afterwards, the social media blew up, and her manager came forward and said that she was misinformed and that she takes it back, blah, blah, blah. And then immediately afterwards, she doubled down, fired the manager, and said, no, I do not believe that. She put out something saying, that she believes that Kamala is white and their father is white. She sort of doubled down on the lie, which is very Trumpian, very MAGA. But now,
did she double down on the lie, or did they just say that man had no right to speak on behalf of him?
Doubled down on it. She ain't going. She's
all right.
Okay.
James reads a different internet than I do, but keep going.
I most certainly do. I believe. Yes, I believe I read the truth, and you will read the bubble. So anyway, but for Tom, I am going to say just, the thing about the Jacksons is they have always had the most vocal fans, and people will not cancel her. They will love her the way they love Michael to this day, and I will say that, it's okay to love the memory of Janet for all that she has done for us, that she has been there for us, that she is a beloved entertainer, that her music will live forever and ever and ever. And that's okay. It is okay to love Janet Jackson. It is okay to listen to her music in the same way that we can listen to Michael Jackson's music and not be touched by it. You do wish that she was a little more informed, and you do wish the best for her.
Yeah, you just wish people wouldn't lose their shit as they get older.
Yeah, exactly. And but it doesn't mean that she's canceled in any way, because you can't cancel the music and you can't cancel the love that we have
When
for
I
her.
think of you,
Well,
you.
so many songs
When
are
I
so
think
much
of
a
you.
part of our DNA that it's okay, Janet, we love you, but please just try and get a little educated.
All right. The Janet. Yes, damn it, Janet. Number 2.
Number 2.
That's a good one. Yes. Oh my God. Why didn't I come up with that?
I know, the Nobel Peace Prize. You've heard of the Nobel Peace Prize, right?
Yes.
What?
Have you heard of the IG Nobel Peace Prize? The Ig Nobel Peace Prize.
Ha!
Yes,
Yeah.
there are such things, and they've been going on for years. And the winner of the Physiology Prize, of the Ig Nobel Peace Prize, the winner was for a research paper on mammalian enteral ventilation ameliorates respiratory failure, which I will translate is anal breathing. These group of scientists from, I think from Japan and America, they did a project. They studied loaches, and they found that mammals can breathe through their anuses.
All of them?
Well, yes. There's if people have a compromised respiratory system, the anal breathing could save you, and quite rightly they've been awarded this very prestigious.
That's fantastic.
James, are you breathing through your butt right now?
Right now. Well, I remember a few years ago, wasn't there something where you could drink through your penis? Wasn't there something about sucking in liquids through
Again,
your
a different internet than I look at. That's the saying. But I just want to say that on RuPaul's Drag Race, Ru says several many times, there's always an anal option. And now I think we know what he means.
Exactly.
Wow. You shared an article, so I was you forewarned us. Thank you, Spencer. So
I mean, lots of people shit out of their mouths, so I can't breathe out of their ass.
The purpose of the Ig Nobel Peace Prize is to award prizes to projects that first make people laugh, then make them think. And I think that's laudatory. That's
a little bit what the Wowies are about.
It is so much. Exactly. There you go. I can see the anal breathing people are going to win an award already. Let's take one more break, and when we come back, the number one thing this week that made us go wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We've been counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. And we've reached number 1.
Number 1.
What is number 1?
James, what will you be taking away from this experience here on the Wow Report this week?
The love and the friendship, and that the journey is the destination.
Not if you were on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh!
What's her name again?
Anna Delvey.
Anna Delvey, who was cast on Dancing with the Stars, who's a criminal, who's in house arrest. I don't know how she got out here and how she practiced. Everyone was so angry. The judges were angry. The host was angry. I guess you're angry, but you still know that Dancing with the Stars is back on. So I guess it worked their thing.
But don't they have a history of casting just terrible people?
They're going, like this is
Sarah
a new low.
Sanders, and
this is a new low. This is like an active, like criminal.
The Masked Singer had Rudolph Giuliani, and everybody walked off, right? Okay.
But the only thing that saved the whole stuff, so they booted her ass the first week. They're just like, get out, mistake. So I can't believe the voting ever on Dancing with the Stars. But but they do that flowery, like, so what will you be taking away with this experience? And she said, nothing. And then the next morning on Good Morning America, they asked, she had to do the circuit. She's like, again, private jet to Good Morning America. I don't know how her jail sentence allows that. But they asked her what was the best part of being on Dancing with the Stars, and she said, being eliminated. So for that, I love her. And here's the other hidden gem from all of this. And I don't say this, but the Tori Spelling, our Tori Spelling, America's Tori Spelling, was also eliminated. It was a double elimination. But Tori's elimination, for better or worse, was sort of overshadowed. Like she actually was eliminated first, and then Anna Delvey was eliminated. So Tori, Tori's point of view is that she was asked like 16 times or 26 times, said no each time, finally did it, faced her fears. Her kids were in the audience. I think Tori wanted out. I think she's like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. That's my guess anyway.
Well, I do want to just give you a quick Anna Delvey impersonations. I do very well. Your face makes me so sad. and your shoes are so poor. Your shoes look like a poor person's shoe. But she did dance with her ankle monitor on, which was sort of fabulous. I don't know if everyone caught that. But yeah,
probably from props.
Lindsay Lohan did it first.
Lindsay Lohan looks so good. We'll have to do a number one next week about how fabulous Lindsay looks.
Well, that's all we got time for. Thanks for listening this week. I just do want to say that RuPaul's Drag Race UK is now on Wow Presents Plus. The new season has just launched, and you can watch that. You can also watch Global All-Stars on Wow Presents Plus. You can also watch new episodes of Drag Race Philippines on Wow Presents Plus. And coming very soon, of course, Drag Race España. But you can go meet the queens in Drag Race España season 4 right now on Wow Presents Plus. So, thanks for listening. Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something.
Wait. I want to do this to my anus this time. Okay. Go ahead.
Tom, you're not moving your lips. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.